Hi all, I am Yolanda and I'm here today to address the topic of starting with the why. So starting with the why is a term I've hijacked from someone called Simon Sinek. And Simon Sinek is, I'd say, probably more a business or business development expert. And when he uses the term, he talks about sales and in business. However, I'm hijacking the term to use it with regards to the judgments that we make on other people. For those of you that don't know, I work with young people mainly, and I think young people has been my passion since as far back as I can remember. It's what I've always done in one capacity or another. And one of the things that it's taught me about more about empathy, understanding, and to start with the why. So just to explain myself, when I say start with the why, it's very easy to look at a person's behavior, look at a person on the outside, and to make a judgment as to why they're that way without knowing much about them. Starting with the why allows you to look at people on a huger system, looking at their macro system. Where did they come from? What do they come from? What have they been used to? What have they experienced? Because I find that once we ask those questions, once we understand that those things have everything to do with the person before us, we learn more empathy and we learn to understand and not to make allowances for things that are in society are normally unacceptable, but just to be more humane about it. So for instance, if you have a person who comes from a violent background, perhaps an abusive background, one where parents were abusive to each other or one parent was more abusive to the other, there might be some things, some traits that experience has left behind for a young person. And as they grow and as they mature, we may see, different signs, some positive, maybe some not so. But again, if we know that about the person, it's easier then just to say, okay, this might be something that has affected them. This might have contributed to that behavior. What can I do, to support them or to help them out? If we look at things from that perspective, we start supporting one another through difficulties that may be historical but still have had an impact. I'm very, one of the things I tend to say to people a lot is that I have scars that are visible and then those that are just in here. And the ones in here are the ones that, if you don't know me well enough, you're just never going to know. And so for that reason, you might see different elements of me that maybe don't make any sense, or maybe they're just totally unacceptable to you or out of this world. But again, everything has impact, and I think this is what we need to understand. A person who has been let down repeatedly in their life, that will impact them. It will impact on maybe the way that they trust other people. It may impact on their ability to ask for help when they need it. A person who comes from an abusive relationship may too have trust issues, but they may also have a defensive to stop themselves ever ending up in that situation again. These are all things that we need to consider when we're dealing with people and when we're making judgments about people, despite how that person presents. And I want to say it's really, really important to start with the why. If we don't start with the why, what we do is we end up impacting the existing problem as well. Because what we're then doing is we're condemning and we're making judgments with very little information, in the same way that some people assume that the issues that we see with terrorism are down to Muslims. So if you're Muslim, this is what it means. But that's not true, And when we start condemning people and judging people like that, it affects their lives. It affects a Muslim person's ability to get on a tube with their rucksack full of university books to get to class or to get to the library. It affects their ability to run into a train station because they know their train's due 2 minutes from now. And that's not fair. And those are extreme examples, but I think in the wider scheme of things, if you just take a second for a moment and think about someone who you have made a judgment about recently, what caused you to make that judgment? Was it the fact that that person was rude to you, short-tempered? What are they going through? Think about the why. I'm not saying make allowances, again, I'm not saying make allowances in any way, shape or form for things that are unacceptable. I'm just saying that one of the things that might help us if we learn tolerance and empathy for others. And starting with the why, I think, is a good place to start. I know for me, working with young people helps me to start with the why, because I know the kind of young person that I was, far from perfect, and I come from a loving home and all the rest of it, but it didn't stop me experiencing certain things, and those things impact the way I am today. My choice to work with young people is based on the kind of young person I was and the kind of experiences I had as a young person. So for me, I try to be a person or an adult that young people can speak to, they can trust, often that they can rely on, and all of that is based on what perhaps I would have appreciated a bit more of, or something that was lacking at points when I needed it the most. So again, the next time we go to make a judgment, can we start with the why? Instead of, the condemning and the judgments. It's very easy to judge each other, but, life is difficult for the best of us, and whether or not a person walks around looking distraught, that's not an indication that they're not distraught. Okay? I think I said that the wrong way around. If a person doesn't look distraught, that's not an indication that they're not distraught. Because very often, we wear our pain like high heels. Back straight, posture high, nose up, and we're off. But the shoes are killing our feet. Alright? Thank you for your time, guys. Have a wonderful day.